Hey, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. Great evening, great evening, great evening. Welcome to Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministries. Let's get raw, work the word. Let's get raw and work the word. I'm going to give you guys a chance to come in. I'm going to go ahead and share this broadcast, and I encourage you to do the same. When you tune in, let me know where you are tuning in from. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Come on in, come on in. Let me get there so I can share. I got some stuff brewing. Got some stuff brewing. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. Let me know who's here and where you are tuning in from. Hey, India in Michigan. Good to see you, beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Let me share the broadcast. Let's get raw. All right, all right, all right. All right. So, tonight for our Let's Get Raw, Work the Word, we're going to be talking about John chapter 10. We're going to talk about shepherd, sheep, and voices. Shepherd, sheep, and voices. Shepherds, sheep, and voices. Let me do something real quick. We're going to talk about shepherd, sheep, and voices. Now, I don't know why it keeps doing this, but for some reason, I'm having a whole issue. And I don't understand why. It's kicking out of groups. I don't understand it. It's like when I share to groups, it's kicking it out. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go in and share physically to these groups. Just a whole mess. Just want to make life difficult. Let me share this. Share to these groups. Hey, you guys. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. I'm having some challenges. It's trying to not share to groups. And I don't know why, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. And just make sure that it goes where it's supposed to go. Hey, Stacy. Girl, that picture is fire. That picture is fire, honey. You are giving us face. Face, honey. You better give us face, honey. Give us face. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Honey, listen, let me tell you. Let me find out, honey. Let me find out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, queens in the building, girl. Every time I see that picture, I just be like, ooh, girl, you are fine, honey. Just fine for no reason. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, you guys. So tonight we are talking about John chapter 10. John chapter 10. We're talking about shepherd, sheep, and voices. Shepherd, sheep, and voices. Now, let me just start with this. I was at the post office the other day, and two of the women at the post office, they were talking, and one of them, and it was a man too, but they were talking about talking to yourself. They were talking about talking to yourself, and the woman was talking to herself about what she needed to do for the day. The man said, "Are you talking to yourself?" She said, "Yeah, I'm talking to myself." And he said, oh, okay. So the other woman was saying, hey, it's fine if you talk to yourself. You can even answer yourself. Because the woman said, yeah, I was talking to myself, but I wasn't answering myself. And the other woman said, well, yeah, I talk to myself and I answer myself. And so I was listening to them engage in this conversation. And the conversation was all around talking to yourself, answering yourself. Do you talk to yourself? Do you answer yourself? Do you do those things? Right. And so, you know, as I was getting ready to leave, I said, all right, you guys, I said, you guys have an amazing day and just keep talking to yourself and answering yourself. Right. Because the woman was saying that she answers herself and she said, you know, when those voices in her head start to say crazy stuff, she said, I am beautiful. I am smart. I am this, I am that. And she begins to declare the I am statements, right? So fast forward, as I'm leaving, I said, y'all keep talking to yourself because I know I definitely talk to myself. She said, see, I told y'all you need to talk to yourself. So tonight, as we go into John chapter 10, we want to talk about shepherds, sheep, and voices. Shepherds, sheep, and voices. Y'all bear with me. Hold on. Let me get me some liquid. All right. Hold on, y'all. I got to get some liquid going. I got a scratchy throat. Absolutely, Stacy. John chapter 10. I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. And y'all, let me tell y'all something. God has a sense of humor. For those of you who are wondering what I'm drinking, it's my 1044 Pro Coffee Plus with super nutrients. It is a superfood, and I need the superpower as I power through this word. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now, listen, I want to encourage you guys, go ahead and share this broadcast. Share the broadcast. You never know who's going to need what it is that we are talking about. Go ahead and share the broadcast. I don't want people to miss this move. Put me some agave in here. It's going to be a little different tonight. I don't want them to miss this move. Let me see. Left my creamer. Let me see. No. Okay. All right. So let me share. All right. Let me make sure it's big enough. Okay, let me do this. Let me pop it out. Oh no, that's sharing. Oh, this is the message. I'm not using the message. I need NLT. All right. And I'm going to make this bigger. So that we can see it easily. Make it just a little bit bigger. Thank you guys for bearing with me. There we go. All right. So we're going to be talking about the good shepherd and his sheep. So here we go. And the scriptures read, I tell you the truth. Anyone who sneaks over the wall of a sheepfold rather than going through the gate must surely be a thief and a robber. But the one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. After he's gathered his own flock, he walks ahead of them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice. Those who heard Jesus use this illustration didn't understand what he meant, so he explained it to them. I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. All who came before me were thieves and robbers, but the true sheep did not listen to them. Yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and will find good pastures. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him and he isn't their shepherd. And so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money and doesn't really care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep and they know me, just as my Father knows me and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock with one shepherd. Hold on. Okay. The Father loves me because I sacrificed my life so I may take it back again. No one can take my life from me. I sacrifice it voluntarily, for I have the authority to lay it down when I want to and also to take it up again. For this is what my Father has commanded. When he said these things, the people were again divided in their opinions about him. Some said, he's demon-possessed and out of his mind. Why listen to a man like that? Others said, this doesn't sound like a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? Now, this is when we get a whole problem, y'all. It's getting ready to be a whole problem. A whole problem. Hold on. It was now winter, and Jesus was in Jerusalem at the time of Hanukkah, the festival of dedication. He was in the temple, walking through the section known as Solomon's Colonnade. The people surrounded him and asked, how long are you going to keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly. Jesus replied, I have already told you and you don't believe me. The proof is the work I do in my Father's name, but you don't believe me because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life and they will never perish. No one can snatch them away from me, for my Father has given them to me, and he is more powerful than anyone else. No one can snatch them from the Father's hand. The Father and I are one. Once again, the people picked up stones to kill him. Now, Jesus with his gangster self said this. At my Father's direction, I have done many good works. For which one are you going to stone me? Now, see, that's some Jesus stuff right there. Hold on. They replied, we're stoning you not for any good work, but for blasphemy. You are mere man, claim to be God. So Jesus got to break it down to them. Y'all listen. This is what Jesus said to them. Okay. And I want you to take this very personally. Jesus replied, it is written in your own scriptures. Read your own Bible for yourself. That God said to certain leaders of the people, I say you are gods. Lowercase g. I say you are gods. And you know that the scriptures cannot be altered. So if those people who received God's message were called gods, lowercase g, why do you call it blasphemy when I say I am the Son of God? After all, the Father set me apart and sent me into the world. Don't believe me unless I carry out my Father's work. But if I do his work, Believe in the evidence of the miracles, the miraculous works I have done, even if you don't believe in me. Then you will know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. Once again, they tried to arrest him, but he got away and left them. He went beyond the Jordan River near the place where John was first baptizing and stayed there a while, and many followed him. John didn't perform miraculous signs, they remarked to one another, but everything he said about this man has come true. And many who were there believed in Jesus. Listen. Whoo, let's roll it back. Let's roll it back and let's talk about it. Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Let's talk about it, okay? Here in chapter 10, Jesus is talking about the shepherd, the sheep, and his voice. The shepherd, the sheep, and his voice, right? So he says, I tell you the truth, anyone who sneaks over the wall of a sheepfold rather than going through the must surely be a thief and a robber, but the one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. After he's gathered his own flock, he walks ahead of them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice. Now, listen, the people didn't understand this illustration that Jesus was giving. You know, Jesus was good about illustrations. He used a lot of illustrations. He would tell the people, you know, he would use, if he was talking to fishermen, he would use fishing examples. If he was talking to farmers, he would use farming examples. If he was talking to shepherds, he would use shepherd examples or sheep herding examples, right? So whatever group of people he was talking to, those were the examples that he used. And there was a reason for that. What was the reason, Dr. V? He always wanted the people to be able to relate to the message. So what he did was he couched the message in ways that the people could understand it, the ways that they could get it. So with this message in chapter 10, he's talking about the shepherd, the sheep, and the right? The sheep know the shepherd's voice. They're not going to follow someone else. They're going to follow the shepherd. And if they don't recognize the voice, they are not, hear me when I say, they are not going to follow. Jesus understood something. He understood that it was imperative that the people understand that he understood that only his sheep would hear his voice and recognize it. Only his sheep. Now, everybody is not called to you. Everyone's not called to me. And while God had a desire for everyone to come to Jesus, not everyone was going to recognize his voice. They just weren't. They weren't going to recognize his voice. And because they didn't recognize his voice, they therefore would not follow him. So today, when we're trying to figure out why people are not following Jesus, it's for the same reasons now, many times, as it was then. They don't know his voice. And if they don't know his voice, they're not his sheep. Now listen, check this out, because Jesus said some amazing things in this chapter, and I want to break it down and talk to you about it. As Jesus is talking, and the people, didn't understand the illustration, he knew they didn't. He said, listen, I tell you the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. Now, why is this thing doing this? Y'all listen. Okay. It just does not want this message to go forth. But guess what? It's not going to stop it. It can't stop it. Hold on. Let me send this message out. See, let me tell y'all something. One thing about me is I don't have time to be, let me turn this down just in case the volume comes in. I don't have time to be stuck in a place of trying to figure some stuff out. I'm not doing that. What I am getting ready to do is I'm going to send this to the places where it's trying to kick it out. What in the world? No, we're not doing that. Oh, we're not doing that. That's what we're not doing. Oh no, this word is going to go forth. It's going to go forth, and who needs to hear it is going to hear it. Awesome, Stacy. Awesome. So listen. Here we go. Did y'all share yet? Did y'all share? Okay. So listen. Jesus begins to talk to them about what it means, what it all means. What does all this mean? What does all this mean? Right? Because they didn't know what it meant. So they're like, we don't know. They didn't know what it was. So he said, listen, I'm the gate for the sheep. All the ones that came before me, they were thieves and robbers. They just wanted the money, right? They wanted to steal, right? But the true sheep did not listen to them. See, when people are connected to you, the people that are connected to you will hear your voice. But the people who are not, they won't. And so you can't get mad about that. See, Jesus understood that his voice was for certain people. There were certain people who would hear it, catch it, and draw and hold on to it because they knew he was their shepherd. Other people would hear his voice, but they wouldn't hear it. Yeah. Who is that? Oh, that's Mary and Joseph's son. He's a carpenter. Why y'all listening to him? You got to understand that what God is doing in this season of our lives is identifying the shepherds and the wolves, the sheep and the goats, the shepherds and the wolves, the sheep and the goats. Okay? God is making distinctions. This is a season of distinction. This is a season of distinction. And so here we are, and we find ourselves in a place where Jesus is having a conversation, and he's talking about how he is the shepherd and his sheep hear his voice. Now, this is what he said after he talks about being the gate. He said, but the true sheep did not listen to them. Yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. They will come and go freely. Hold on. Did that just say come and go freely? Yeah. He didn't hold them hostage. They would come and go freely and find good pastures. The thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Two different purposes. The thief, the wolf, the goal is to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus, the shepherd's purpose was to give them a rich and satisfying life. How do you get a rich and satisfying life? How do you get there? How do you get there? Well, listen, he knows that what he's getting ready to teach them is going to be the key to them having that rich and satisfying life. He didn't say an existence. He didn't say a mere existence where they were just going to get by. So when people say, oh, I just need enough, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. That is not what he said. So we've got to understand that what he's saying in this season is that we have to be in position to be able to hear what he's saying and act on what he says. We've got to be in a position to hear what he's saying and act on what he says. So Jesus's purpose was to give them a rich and satisfying life. Rich and satisfying. He says, I am the good shepherd. What makes a shepherd good? This is how you can distinguish a good shepherd from a hired hand or a wolf / thief. The difference between a good shepherd and a hired hand and a wolf and a thief. Okay? This is the difference. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. What does the good shepherd do? Sacrifices his life for the sheep. The hired hand runs. on now. He runs when he sees the wolf coming. The hired hand is not trying to have that smoke with the wolf. Oh, no, I don't care that much. Well, my life is in danger. He's not having that. See, these are the things that distinguish the good shepherd from the hired hand, the thief, the wolf. The good shepherd is willing to sacrifice his life. Now, not only that, but the hired hand is going to abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him. They're not his. See, it's easy to walk away from something that's not yours. It's easy to walk away from something that's not yours. So then the wolf attacks them and scatters the whole flock. The flock is all over the place. Now the hired hand is not going to gather them, not pulling them together, not using the, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The rod or the staff, not using the rod or the staff to bring them together and pull them back. No, he runs away because he was only working for the money and doesn't really care about the sheep. He doesn't care about the sheep. He doesn't care if the sheep make it or not. Doesn't care if the sheep live or die. He doesn't care. They're not his. He doesn't care. Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. See, now that he's established what a good shepherd is, right? He's reminding them that he is the good shepherd. He says it in verse 11 and he says it again in verse 14. He says, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and they know me. I know my sheep and they know me. Just as my Father knows me and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. Listen, in math, when you talk about algorithms, when you talk about logic, right? There is a principle that says that if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C, right? Jesus is a good shepherd. A good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep, right? We there? Jesus is a good shepherd. He knows his sheep and they know him, right? So therefore, we know that sacrificing his life for the sheep and knowing the sheep and the sheep knowing him are equated. They're both indications that Jesus is a good shepherd. If a good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep and Jesus is a good shepherd, therefore Jesus sacrifices his life for the sheep. The same is true when it comes to ministry. In ministry, a good shepherd, a good pastor is not just going to run from the people and their challenges. Not just going to run. They're going to say, listen, this is what's going on. This is what needs to happen. If they're the sheep, if the people are their sheep, they'll hear the voice. But this is the other thing. The pastor won't just run away because things got tough in the person's life. No. And hear me when I tell you this now. The pastor won't just run away because things got tough in the person's life. But it doesn't mean that the pastor is going to support the person in foolishness, support the person in stuff that they could control, but they chose not to control. Decisions that they could have made, but they chose not to make. I'm not saying that. That's not the same thing. But Jesus lets them know that the good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep and knows their own sheep, and the sheep know them. Okay? He says, so I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too that are not in this sheepfold. Pause. Pause right there. Pause right there. Somebody needs to be asking some questions. Somebody needs to ask some questions. He says, I have other sheep that are not in this sheepfold, but I've got to bring them too. In other words, these are not the only sheep. I got some more. But I'm going to bring them together. And they're going to listen to my voice. And there'll be one flock. One flock. One flock. Could it be that Jesus was letting us know that he has sheep in places other than the one that we found ourselves in? And that these sheep were important too. And that he was going to bring all of his sheep together. Could that be it? Could it be that this thing is bigger than we think? Could it be that there's more to it than we know? Could it be that? Could that be what's going on? While we trying to figure out some stuff, Jesus has already figured it out and he's already told us what's going on, but we're trying to figure out and work things out based on denomination. We're trying to figure out things and work things out based on gender, based on ethnicity, race. We trying to figure out things and work them out based on socioeconomic status. We trying to figure it out and base it on religion. Oh, you can't be a part of the sheepfold. You can't. You're not part of the sheepfold. No, you're not. Okay. I'm convinced that when all is said and done, when we get to heaven, if y'all come, that there will be a lot of people surprised at who's there and who's not. A lot of people surprised at who's there and who's not. Because the way we look at things is not the way God looks at things. I'm just saying. So Jesus goes on and he tells them, he says, listen, they will listen to my voice and there will be one flock with one shepherd. The Father loves me because I sacrifice my life so I may take it back again. So there's a difference between being killed, murdered, and sacrificing your life. So when you sacrifice your life, you lay it down. When you are killed or murdered, it's taken from you. When you sacrifice your life, you give it versus it being taken from you. You lay it down versus someone snatching it. Okay? So they didn't know what to do with that because he says, no one can take my life from me. I sacrifice it voluntarily. For I have the authority to lay it down when I want to and also to take it up again. Remember, he had the authority to call the legion of angels to rescue him. He chose not to. Okay? For this is what my Father has commanded. When he said these things, the people again were divided in their opinions about him. Some said he was demon possessed and out of his mind. Why listen to a man like that? And others said, this doesn't sound like a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind? Which of those two groups of people were his sheep? Which ones were his sheep? The one that said he was demon possessed and out of his mind, or the ones that said, this doesn't sound like a man demon possessed? Which ones were his sheep? Which ones were his sheep? Y'all let me know. Which ones? The ones that said he was demon possessed or the ones that said, no, he's not demon possessed? Which ones were his sheep? No. Now, this is the thing. His heart was for both of them. But the ones who said, this doesn't sound like a man possessed by a demon, those were his sheep because they knew his voice. See, listen, I want everybody to be the same. Everybody is not the same. Some people are not his sheep, not because he doesn't want them or he wasn't called to them, but because they choose not to hear his voice. You know, this is the thing about it. You got to be willing to hear his voice. Just like as a coach, As a coach, only certain people are going to hear your voice. Only certain people are going to be drawn to you. Those who hear your voice, those are your tribe. Those are your people, right? So Jesus understood that he was sent for everybody, but everybody wasn't going to be for him. Although he was sent for everyone, everyone wasn't going to be for him. Okay? Everyone wasn't going to hear him. Everyone wasn't going to get it. Everyone wasn't going to walk it out. It's just like the same reason that he says, the poor you will have with you always. Right? People want to say, well, that's not right. Why do you always have poor? Like, you shouldn't say that. Well, that's what Jesus said, that the poor we would have with us always. Why? Not they don't have an opportunity to change it, but because their mind may not be able to grasp it, they may not be able to believe it, they may not be willing to step out on it, and they may not hear the voice. Yes. Absolutely. His sheep. Yes, absolutely. And that is the difference. Now, can someone become his sheep after not listening to his voice? Absolutely. Upon hearing his voice and moving on it, that makes them his sheep. You see, Jesus wants us to understand that this thing is so much bigger than what we think. So then Jesus goes on, and Jesus is getting ready to mess the people up. Y'all know Jesus specialized in messing the people up. He'd be like, I'm going to mess them up with this one. Hold on. Wait for this. So here he is. He's in Jerusalem during Hanukkah. And that's what we call Christmas, right? The festival of dedication. He was in the temple, walking through the section known as Solomon's Colonnade. The people surrounded him and asked him, how long are you going to keep us in suspense? If you're the Messiah, just tell us. If you're the Messiah, tell us plainly. Jesus said, I already told you, and you don't believe me. The proof is in the work that I do in my Father's name. See, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in my works. See, we're looking at all the wrong stuff. We're waiting for somebody to tell us something when we need to look at their works. Their works will tell us everything. How they behave will tell us everything. We won't have to guess. We won't have to be in suspense. Their actions speak. Actions speak louder than words. People know how to say the right things, but what's truth is in what you do. What you do determines what's truth. So when people need closure, explanation, whatever, listen, let me tell y'all something. One of the best things that you can do to liberate yourself is stop expecting people who don't want to talk. For what? Actions speak louder than words. Jesus said, listen, do you see what I've done? I've shown you who I am, but you don't believe me. You don't believe me because you're not my sheep. You don't like me because you're not my tribe. You're not my sheep. Everybody's not going to follow me, and I'm good on that, right? Everybody is not my sheep. But my sheep will hear my voice. They'll recognize it. They'll hear it, and they'll understand. And that's the key. If we would stop spending our lives trying to make people who are not our sheep, who are not our tribe, be that, we'll save ourselves harder because then we won't feel rejected. Ooh. That's a word right there. That's a word. What causes feelings of rejection? When you feel like you've put yourself out there and someone does not respond, or they don't respond in the way you want them to, right? That's what triggers the thought of rejection. But guess what? If they're not your sheep, are they rejecting you, or are they simply identifying themselves as not your sheep? Is that rejection, Or is it just an identification process? See, I would contend that it's an identification process. They're identifying themselves. People sort themselves, right? So in network marketing, we talk about the sorting process, right? You have apples, you have red apples, and you have green apples, right? So the red apples are, the people who are difficult. They've got lots of questions. The red apples are the ones that are ready to go. Like they connect with you, et cetera, et cetera. They get you. They hear your voice. They get it. They're ready to move. They like you. They like what you're doing. They like that stuff. The green apples are bitter. The green apples are bitter. They're bitter. They're sour. They need additional information. So we keep looking for all of the apples to be the same, but they produce something different. You can't make a green apple a red apple, or a red apple a green apple. You just know that this apple is red, this apple is green. Put them in the right pile. Just put the apples in the right pile. That's all you got to do. And the same is true when we talk about life. Put people in the right category. We get in trouble. We get in so much trouble when we try to put people in a category that they don't belong in. So now we put them in a category that we don't belong in, and there is conflict because we tried to put them in a category that they don't belong in, or they don't belong in right now. Either way, it creates a conflict. It creates an issue, and it can trigger and reactivate a former trauma. It can trigger or reactivate a former trauma. Let's talk about this. Let me stop sharing for a minute. So let's talk about some common traumas that get triggered, right? Abandonment, rejection, loss, okay? Failure. So we have fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of success. Now, when we talk about those first three, fear of abandonment, loss, and rejection, those are some of the strongest fears that we can have, traumas that we can have, because normally they're rooted in something from our childhood. In my psychology class, I was just talking about attachment styles. And so when babies are little, they form different types of attachment. I'm going to kind of break it down to you. We're going to talk about it in relationship to those three, right? So there's the secure attachment. And when a baby forms a secure attachment with their caregiver, what that means is if the caregiver leaves, the baby is confident that that caregiver is coming back. They're not anxious about it. Like they don't feel any of that, right? So when the caregiver leaves, there's no fear that they're not going to come back. The baby is confident that they're always going to come back because that's what they've experienced. Okay, that's a secure attachment. The second type of attachment is an avoidant attachment. With an avoidant attachment, there have been some times when the caregiver may have come back, and some times when the caregiver didn't come back in the time frame that the baby wanted them to come back. And so what they do is, the way they deal with it, and I want y'all to pay close attention, the way they deal with it is that when the caregiver comes back, don't touch me. I don't want to be bothered with you. They avoid them. It's almost like a form of punishment. Oh, you left. Oh, no. I'm not talking to you. Don't try to kiss me. You can't pick me up. Right? It's the avoidant attachment. The third type of attachment is an ambiguous attachment. The ambiguous attachment is This is what happens with the ambiguous attachment. I want y'all to pay attention to this, and I want y'all to think about your relationships. Okay, think about your relationships. The ambiguous attachment is that the baby has their response to the caregiver leaving and coming back or not coming back within a certain time frame is, I don't care whether you're here or not, whatever. The caregiver leaves, comes back, and the baby's like, whatever. I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, you back? Okay. It's not avoidant, but it's ambiguous. Whether you come back or whether you don't come back, I'm good. I'm good, right? Now, I want you to think about this in terms of your relationships. And I don't care whether you're talking about familial, friendships, or romantic, or business. I want you to think about it, okay? And I think this is going to help you guys to understand some things about your relationships and why you experience some of the things that you experience, okay? When you have a secure attachment, you have relationships from a healthy place. It's a healthy place, right? Because you had a secure attachment as a baby, you don't have all of these other issues. Like, you don't automatically assume things are bad if someone doesn't call you or doesn't text you or whatever. Like, you don't move like that. You don't move like that because you got a secure attachment. Like, you good, right? You're good. The relationship has latitude. There's latitude, there's movement, there's range, right? When you have an avoidant attachment, you make people pay. And you tend to be passive aggressive. You make people pay and you tend to be passive aggressive. Oh, you left? Oh, you finna pay. You gonna pay for that. I'm not talking to you. I'm not dealing with you. Oh, now you want, now you got, no, I'm not fooling with you. Avoidant. Ambiguous. I don't care whether you're here or not. Doesn't matter to me. Either way, I'm good. Now I want you to take an honest assessment of yourself and see if you see yourself in any of those styles or a combination of those styles. Does it seem familiar to you? Can you recognize yourself or someone else in relationships? Start with you, though. Start with where you are. Start with where you are. Can anybody see themselves in that? And if so, which style, which attachment style do you see operating in your life? Which attachment style do you see operating in your life? People who have the avoidant attachment style tend to have fear of abandonment. That fear of abandonment thing is a real thing because the attachment is not secure, right? So it shows up. Okay. Ambiguous, avoidant, and secure. Ambiguous, avoidant, and secure. Those are the three. Ambiguous, avoidant, and secure. Now, I know y'all may be saying, well, Dr. V, how did we get here, right? How did we get here from John chapter 10? I told y'all I believe in making the word applicable to our lives, and so that we can really understand what's going on. This is not just ambiguous and avoidant. Yeah. See, and that's the thing, because I believe that there are people who operate from both the ambiguous and avoidant place because you did not have a secure attachment. Right. And so you learn defense mechanisms, and your defense mechanisms were either that you avoided or that you were like, well, whatever. And you're right. I believe that you can use both of those. You can be both of those, right? Ambiguous, avoidant, right? All right. So when Jesus says, Hold on. My sheep know my voice, right? And he goes on to say, I already told you, but you don't believe me. The proof is in the work I do in my Father's name, but you don't believe me because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life and they will never perish. No one can snatch them away from me, for my Father has given them to me, and he is more powerful than anyone else. No one can snatch them from the Father's hand. The Father and I are one. Can I say something to you guys from a place of absolute and utter love, but also a firm conviction? When you belong to him, you really understand who you are. No one can snatch you away from him. No one can snatch you away from him. You belong to him. So there's no need to feel avoidant or ambiguous in your relationship with him. And if you understand that, then you can operate from a place of security, a secured attachment. You're securely attached to Jesus and the Father. You're securely attached, right? It is when people begin to make you feel like you can be snatched away, or if you ever mess up, you're going to lose your salvation, right? That you begin to feel like ambiguous and avoidant, and you get nervous and you're trying to figure things out, and you know, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? Then he's not going to love me anymore, right? That's the stuff that we do when we don't have a secure attachment. You know, we feel like we're going to mess up. And if we mess up, if we say the wrong thing, if we do the wrong thing, people won't like us. They won't, you know, whatever that stuff is. Listen, it's operating from a place of fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, things rooted in our childhood, rooted in trauma. And so then we have to decide, are we going to grow up? And when will we grow up? Is this going to be the time that we grow up? Or are we going to continue the cycles? For what? Why? Why continue to go around and around the mulberry bush? I never understood that. Here we go around the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go around the mulberry bush early in the morning. What for what? What is around the mulberry bush? Why are we going around this mulberry bush? Why? What is the point? But many of us are like that in our life and our relationships, whether we're talking about our relationship with God or whether we're talking about our relationship with other people. We go around the mulberry bush, round and around and around. Round we go, round the mulberry. Oh, what? When the truth of the matter is that when we really know who we are in God and who God is in us, because we are God's with the lowercase g. When we understand that, it changes the game. How does it change the game? It changes the game because it allows us to operate from a place of security. I am in God and God is in me, and nobody can take me out of him and nobody can take him out of me. So if all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, then even my mess ups work together for my good. So even though I messed up, I made a mistake, I sinned, it doesn't disqualify me. Oh, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Hold on, y'all. I feel one more. Hold on. Wait. Trying to make sure it's not coming. So we can have confidence in who we are in him, and who he is in us, and our relationship. He is our shepherd, and we hear his voice. When you understand that, the enemy can't snatch you out of God's hands. What? No. Can't do it. And it allows you to operate and move differently. You know, I think that sometimes, thank you, Stacy. I think that sometimes people try to intimidate and manipulate you using God's word and using our fears, those traumas, those childhood traumas. They will try to make you feel away. You know, I've always told my kids that if you don't want to be in a relationship, you don't have to be in a relationship. You don't have to spend your life in a relationship, right? You just don't have to do it. But we're so programmed to be relationship driven. Like if you're not in a relationship, or if you're dating multiple people, then something's wrong with you. Like all of this stuff is foolishness, right? So when you find yourself in the place where you are not in a committed relationship, sometimes it's challenging because people don't know what to do with that. Listen, I am in a committed relationship with God. Let me tell y'all something. And God is in a committed relationship with me. He has chosen me and I've chosen him. Listen, we are in a whole relationship. This is not a situationship. This is not an entanglement. This is a whole relationship, me and God in a relationship. And I have security in that. But listen, this is the thing. This relationship, your relationship with God, and establishing a secure attachment in your relationship with God can help you overcome, having an ambivalent, avoidant attachment from your childhood. See, you couldn't control what happened in your childhood. You were a child. You were an infant, right? You couldn't control that. You couldn't control your parent, whether they came back or didn't come back, how those dynamics went. You couldn't control that. But listen, you have an opportunity now to form a secure attachment with God. And in establishing that secure attachment with God, what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to view yourself differently. It's going to allow you to have greater confidence in who you've been created to be. And from that place, you can love without anxiety. You can love without fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success. You can love without fear. You can allow it to be whatever it is without it making a statement about you. Just because something isn't what you want it to be doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're not dateable. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable. It doesn't mean that you're not good. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. So Jesus was letting the people know. This is why I love Jesus. Y'all, can y'all tell I love Jesus, okay? Jesus was letting the people know, listen, my sheep know my voice. They know who I am. They know who I am. And nobody else they'll hear. They're not going to hear him. They're not going to follow him. They're just not going to do it. And then he goes on to talk about no one being able to snatch them away, right? Because the Father has given them to him and he is more powerful than anyone else. And then he goes on and ends that section with the Father and I are one. They're one. We're one. The Father and I, Dr. V, Veronica, Ron, V, whatever you call me, we're one. Like Jesus and the Father, we're one. But to some people, that'll be blasphemy. But it's what the scripture says. That understanding in and of itself, when I really that, caused me to move differently. You know what? I can release people to love whoever they want to love, to be wherever they want to be, to have whatever friendships they want to have, whatever business relationship they want to have, without it saying anything about me. Why? I know who I am. And you need to know who you are. I'm not the only one who can have this. You can have this too. The difference between me and you, if I have it and you don't, is that you just haven't come to the realization of who you really are. And when you come to that realization, and I'm not talking about you don't know it like you didn't read it, but I'm talking about knowing it in terms of knowing that you know, so that it shows up in your actions. That is the difference. And that's it. That's it. Jesus understood at the end of the day, with all of the things that were going on, that the people who wanted to stone him, listen, they could not take his life because he could only lay it down. You can't take my life. I can lay it down. I can give it. I can sacrifice it. But you can't take my life. And when they were getting ready to stone him, he said, so let me get this straight. Which one of the miracles are you stoning me for? Which one of the good things that I've done for people are you stoning me for? Oh, we're not stoning you for that. We're stoning you for blasphemy. Okay. Huh. So Jesus, with his wise self, it's where he tells them, listen, it's written in your own scriptures. He understood the power of scriptures and breaking the word down and running the word back. He says, Jesus replied, it is written in your own scriptures. This is verse 4 in John chapter 10, that God said to certain leaders of the people, I say you are gods. And you know that the scriptures cannot be altered. So if those people who received God's message were called gods, why do you call it blasphemy when I say I am the Son of God? After all, the Father set me apart and sent me into the world. Don't believe me unless I carry out the Father's work. But if I do his work, believe in the evidence of the miraculous works I've done. Even if you don't believe in me, then you will know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. Now, you can't make it no plainer than that. And then it goes on to say that the people, they was hanging around and stuff. And then they said, some of them said, well, listen, all I know is this. John didn't perform miracles, but John said all these things about this man, and everything he said about this man has come to pass. I don't know now. I might not be the sharpest tool in the shed or the brightest star in the sky, but I believe in him. Similarly, let me say this to you. Even if other people don't believe, even if, there are people who don't think you can, don't think you should, even if there are people who don't hear your voice and they only hear it when someone else says it, even if that's the case, listen, someone will hear and they'll recognize and they'll respond. Focus on that. Focus on that. Jesus mastered the art of not majoring in the minors. He mastered the art of not majoring in the minors. All the times that people rejected him, all the times that people said negative stuff to him, all the times that they lied on him, all the times that they laughed at him, all those times, he never let that stuff bother him. And hear me when I say didn't let it bother him. Let me say he didn't let that stuff stop him. He didn't let it stop him. Don't you? Don't you do that. Hear the voice of the shepherd. Hear the voice of the shepherd and respond. Don't be a goat, not hearing his voice. And if you're a shepherd, be a shepherd and not a hireling or a hired hand. Shepherd cares about the sheep, protects the sheep, guides the sheep, rescues the sheep. A hireling runs when there's trouble. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of running from the challenges of life, running from situations, running from people. I'm tired of running. This is not a running season, not like that. The only running I plan on doing is running towards my vision and my destiny. That's it. Running away from threats and challenges, nah, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm not running. I'm right here. Bring it. Bring it on. God has made this thing so much simpler than we make it. But it's up to us to walk that thing out. Jesus is the good shepherd. He lays down his life, sacrifices his life for his sheep. His sheep know his voice, and no other will they follow. Make some conscious decisions tonight to really come to understand who you are. Who does God say you are? Who did he make you to be? And then allow all of that greatness to rise up and stand out. Shepherd, sheep, and voices. Whose voice will you hear? And how will you respond? So you guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Let's Get Raw, Real and Anointed Word, Work the Word, for Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purpose Ministries. You all, I'm super excited about everything that God is doing. I pray that you got something out of tonight's lesson. In fact, I would ask that you would drop that in the comments. What was your takeaway? What was your takeaway? What was the thing that stood out the most to you in this evening's discussion of John chapter 10? And then let's do this. Let's make this commitment that if we begin to feel ambivalent or avoidant, that we will face those things and find the root, that we will establish a secure connection, secure attachment, so that we can bond with people in a way that is healthy and that is natural. Forced, we don't have to do it, and we're not faking. Make tonight the beginning of a new life because you discovered how to create a secure attachment, or even that you need a secure attachment in your life. Listen, you guys, I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Join us on Sunday. Sunday, we will not be live in the building, but we will be live, baby. We're going to be live, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, wherever you're tuning in from now. Join us back here then on Sunday. Just know this, know that God's got a plan for you. I declare and decree that everything your hands touch will prosper, and every place your feet tread, he's giving you dominion, that your worst days are behind you and your best days are in front of you. The promises of God for your life are yea and amen, and that everything God has declared over your life, it will, it shall, it must come to pass. I believe in you. Won't you believe in you? Love you guys to life and life more abundant. Have an amazing night. Mwah. Be blessed.